Okay, so good evening, everyone. I'm Aparna. I welcome you all on behalf of Guru Mantra Academics Private Limited. So, Guru Mantra is a student centric platform which mentors students for various creative careers like design, architecture, and fashion. So, a student prepare for the entrance exams for design, architecture, and fashion here. But today we are here to guide all the design aspirants for their journey of preparation. So we have two stars of Guru Mantra here with us, and who would like to share their journey, which will be very helpful for you guys to craft your own journey. So I welcome Atharva Lotke. So Atharva is basically from Pandharpur. He completed his 10th from Pandharpur. Later, he planned to chase his dream and shifted to Pune, pursued his 11th and 12th from commerce. And he was student of SP College. Now he is all set to enter into his design journey BDIS program at NID Ahmedabad. Uh, if we talk about Atharva, he's a very calm and very composed person, I would say, and hardworking person. And about the hobbies, he is a badminton player as well. He likes philosophy, art, and design. He's very good at storytelling too. So everyone who is here is very excited to listen to you, Atharva. So welcome to this webinar.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Then we have Anjali with us. Hi, Anjali. A very energetic girl, a dynamic personality. So Anjali is basically from Pune. She did her 10th from Abhinav Vidyalay. Um, she scored really good marks during her 10th, 98 percentage, but still pursued arts from Ferguson College. And though she got selected into various design schools, now she is starting her design journey at BITS Pilani, Mumbai, which is a fairly new school. Will understand her journey too. She is very much fond of reading different kinds of books. She also likes to write. Uh, she is a person who likes to explore various mediums. She always try to play with a lot of different things. She's a kind of a very social person, always ready to help her friends. So we have seen her journey very closely. So welcome, Anjali.
Thank you, ma'am.
And we have Anushree with us, who was guiding these students. Anushree is principal mentor at Guru Mantra. So she is the witness for their growth. She has put her expertise into molding their abilities to become a designer. So today, on behalf of you all, she will be asking some questions to understand how Atharva and Anjali prepared for this design entrance exams. So while registering for this webinar, we had shared a form which had an option to ask questions for the panel. So we have compiled all the questions well, and we will be asking, rather, Anushree will be asking these questions on your behalf here. So even after that, if you feel like you have few more questions to ask to Atharva or Anjali, you can just put that in the chat box. And at the end, we will have a separate Q&A session for the same. So a request to all the participants to be on mute. And if you have any questions, you can just start putting that in the chat box at the end. And we will try to answer those as we get the time. Most probably all the questions will be resolved in the discussion itself. But furthermore, we can definitely give some time for your queries. So I think it's now good to start with the discussion. Over to you, Anushree.
Yes, thank you, Aparna. Hi, good evening, everyone. So, as Aparna mentioned, I will be facilitating today's discussion. I will be asking a few questions on behalf of you, and at the end, we will be taking your questions. Um, so I think it's a turning point in life for both of you right now, Anjali and Atharva. Uh, Currently, what's going on in your mind? How are you both feeling?
I still have over a month before college starts, so I'm getting rest while I still can. I'm a little nervous and intimidated because it's going to be a new place, new people. My first time moving out from my home. But I'm positive that it's going to be one of the best experiences of my life.
I'm
Great.
sure it will, yes.
Yes. Before I start talking, there's a few disclaimers. I actually gave them in the last session as well. But I think, again, people should know that the first one is that I and Anjali mostly don't agree on all points, which is the beauty of this discussion, because you get to hear all the perspectives, both the polls, and then you can make your own opinions out of them. That's point number one. And the second point is that just because we got into colleges doesn't mean that we are above anyone. So everyone should take our advice with a grain of salt. It's not facts or rules. It is just things that worked for us, and hopefully, they might work for you. But again, there's no guarantee. You might have a different approach, and that's completely fine. So yeah, I mean, Tismar Khan guy, nahi hota. We're just people. About my experience, this is not my first time moving out. So I've lived in Pune for 2 years in a hostel. So I think I kind of know how all of that works. But also because I have to leave tomorrow for NID, I don't really have a lot of time to digest everything. But yeah, so far it's a net positive experience. I hope it will be the most wonderful years of my life.
Yes, I think you put it very nicely, both of you. And like Atharva mentioned, both of them have their own opinions, their own experiences, but it may or may not be that the rest of you might have similar experiences. Firstly, because again, all of these design exams also change every year. There is a little bit of unpredictability, 10% factor, right? But they will definitely help with the 90% preparation factor, I'm sure. Yes, so let's get into it. I think Aparna ma'am has already introduced you guys briefly, but if you can give us an idea about, your background a little bit as well, and what inspired you to, pursue a career in design, because it's still fairly new. Still a lot of, information is um, not really confirmed for a lot of people, or there are a lot of misconceptions. So what
Go first,
inspired you to, yes, yes.
Yes. So my experience, my background, I think ma'am did a great job at explaining that. But how I got into design could be, a, a good question. And the answer to that would be I always liked telling stories. Ever since I was a kid, both my parents were working professionals, and they couldn't really spend a lot of time with me. But fortunately, that turned out to be great because I was able to, in my head, create stories, make characters, build worlds, and keep myself entertained for long stretches of time. And that was great. But again, that led me to storytelling, led me to character design, and that led me to drawing, and that led me to design. So I've been doing this ever since I remember holding a pencil. I love drawing. I love drawing as an art form as well, and not just a tool to make good designs. But I do that. I use drawing as a tool as well. But I, enjoy art just for the sake of art. So yeah, that is my design background.
As for me, I have a completely different story. 2 years ago, back when I was in 10th, I did not know anything about design. Majority of my life, I have been a nerd. I've had a keen interest in dance and drawing and other art forms, but it was limited to hobbies. It was in my 10th that I felt like I cannot really do science and maths anymore in my life. I was tired of it. That's why I decided to pursue arts. And after that, it was my mom who introduced me to design as a field. So back when I joined Guru Mantra in June, July of my 11th standard, I knew nothing about design and it was more of an experiment. I was full of doubts and I wasn't sure if this was what I wanted to do. But as time passed, as I got to know more about design, as I learned it as a philosophy first and as a career second, I felt like this was something I could do for the rest of my life and something I could probably excel at. Design felt like the true integration of all my aptitudes because design requires you to change often, improvise often. It poses you lots of challenges, requires you to empathize with other people, connect with them, and all of these things are something I enjoy doing and I would like to do. So that's how I arrived at design, and it was by the end of 11th standard, I think that I was serious that yeah, I'm going to do design, I'm going to give the exams, and that's when I started preparing.
Right. And I think that's a very crucial step in most of the people's because at by the time you are in 10th, we get very confused. There are a lot of people giving you advice about what to do next. But once you decided, what were the steps you took after that? Like, how did you decide um, whether you needed some mentoring? How did you prepare for the exam? How did you? We'll go into the details, of course, but how did you
Yeah.
begin?
I did not know anything about design, so I had to join an institute to train me to at least not to prepare me for the exams, but to open me to design as a field. And that's why I joined Guru Mantra because uh, my main motivation was I did not want something which was an extension of my math and science classes. I wanted something out of the box, something conventional. That's why I chose a creative field. And some other institutes I visited, they felt like they were just an extension of math science classes requiring us to solve sums in a particular way. And Guru Mantra felt like a platform where I could explore myself, explore my work, the bonds the students shared with each other, they shared with their mentors. It fascinated me. So I was just going with the flow. And I liked what I was doing. And that's why I kept getting deeper into it.
Okay. Atharva, what about you?
Great. For me, most of my life, like in the lockdown, I knew that I wanted to do design, and I seriously started preparing for it. Not just then, I wasn't focused on design exams particularly. I was focused on learning design and starting to get jobs and commissions here and there. So that was my main goal in the lockdown. And while I was preparing for that, I understood that I had gotten, from 0 to 10 uh, in the field of design, let's say, and I was able to create decent designs. I was able to please my clients and all of that. But the decision to join a coaching or like Guru Mantra particularly was that the community, the feeling of belongingness with others as well. Because before that, I was just preparing for a design exam. And that's it. You can totally, if you decide to prepare from home, you can totally do that without joining a class. But again, you will only be preparing for a design exam. But if you join a class, you'll have a community and you'll be preparing for life, for a design, not just a particular exam. So I think it's very important to have a community. That can be an online community, a physical community like Guru Mantra, or anything else works. But being out there, talking to people, exchanging views, perspectives, that really changes who you are. Because now I'm able to communicate my thoughts and what I think about design a lot better than what I was able to before, like 2-3 years ago. So if you want to do that, then of course join a coaching class or like get a community. That's just it. That's why that was a very logical decision. I didn't want to, again, like Anjali said, go to another coaching class for like math and science. So yeah, Guru Mantra, kids were laughing. There was a net positive environment. In the other institutions, it might have not been as much as positive, but Guru Mantra definitely felt very positive. So I think I made the right choice.
I think one thing common between both of us was that we fell in love with design as a concept first, and then we started thinking about giving design entrance exams.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
I think that's, where you realize that, okay, this is my true passion, and, I'm really interested to
Right.
pursue this. Very interestingly put, yes. Okay, so that was, I think, just sort of an introduction of how you came to design. But I'm sure there are a lot of questions people have related to the actual entrance exams of design schools. Can you share a little on the patterns of these entrance exams? There are a lot of terms like Part A, Part B, or can you give a little idea about what this is exactly?
Yeah.
Uh,
Can I go?
yeah, I think Anjali, you can explain the UCD part, and I'll try explaining the NID part,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
see how things go.
Yeah. So, as per me, most of the exams, design entrance exams, focus on two distinct patterns of evaluation. One is the objective part, in which they ask you numerical and analytical questions. And the second is the subjective part, where they ask you creativity based and sketching based questions. The objective part will include logical reasoning like finding patterns, coding, decoding. It will include math. Now, by math, I don't mean trigonometry or algebraic equations. It will have sort of riddles, math riddles, which can be solved in 30, 60 seconds. They are just testing your ability to solve problems in a mathematical way. And it might also include the objective part, might also include basic grammar and general knowledge, mostly pertaining to the Indian culture.
Mhm.
And as per part B, the subjective questions, they are not really looking for how excellent you are at drawing, how good you are at shading and perspective and things like that. They are more of looking at how good you are at ideation and coming up with unique ideas, solving problems in a different way, and representing them visually, being able to communicate what you are thinking through pencil strokes. As per UCED, I think there are three sections. One is maths based, one is MCQ, and MSQ. Even though they are distinct sections, MSQs and MCQs, I think they have the same uh, pattern. They test whether you can think visually. That's all it is about.
Mm.
Yeah.
Atharva?
Yes. I think the pattern kind of is similar to NID, but again, there are a few key differences. IIT wants technology focused, industrious designers, whereas for NID, they want more creative, out there kind of people. And that's not the only key difference. The other difference comes in the weightage of Part A versus Part B, because for NID, the weightage for Part B is a lot more than that of Part A. And generally speaking, the Part A for NID is much easier than that of UCD. And I think vice versa. Part B of UCD is much easier than Part A of NID.
Mm.
UCD Part B generally focuses a lot more on the technical aspects of drawing, like perspective, figure drawing, and all of that. But for NID, it's a bit more open. It's let's say, for the lack of a better word, more artistic. You can be more creative than a technical UCD. So that is the only key difference.
Right. I think, yeah, a lot of people have many misconceptions related to even understanding the pattern of the exams because, unfortunately, for design, it's not standardized like other exams, right? Okay. Can you share a little about which design and school exams did you give, and were the difficulty levels, were they similar or were they different?
Yeah, I'll go first. I gave NID, MIT, MIT Loni, Anant, and UID. So these were the four colleges that I
Hmm.
gave entrance exams for.
Okay.
And fortunately, I was selected in all four of them. And I chose NID because NID. Um, the difference, the difficulty level for all the exams was relatively similar, but because the acceptance rate for NID or MIT is a lot lower than that of other colleges, uh, you have to give more of effort or more of yourself into these two exams because the acceptance rate is so low. So yeah, that's the only key difference. The difficulty level generally is very similar. You have to be creative and you have to be not dumb. So only not a lot of criterias. Yeah.
Yes. Anjali, what about you?
I gave an ID. I gave UC. UC was something I was really focused on. And after that, I directly gave WITS entrance
Hmm.
test. Um, and yeah, I think the basis, the fundamentals of what these institutions are testing in the students is the same. It's
Hmm.
just that they are focusing on certain things more than the other things. Like, but you see, they are focusing more on the intellectual aptitude than they are
Hmm.
on the creative aptitude. So, yeah.
Okay. Great. Very nicely rounded up. And also, I think one question that a lot of people may have is to do with, their own skills or, sketching skills is one big concern. And there are some students who do still appear for, elementary, intermediate exams. Do you think this matters, different set of skills, and whether
Mm,
giving that exam help?
I don't think giving elementary or intermediate or not giving elementary or intermediate would affect a person much because I had given elementary, intermediate both. I had A grade and intermediate. But when it came to preparing for the sketching part of design exams, I had to start from scratch. I had to work a lot to improve my sketching right from the basics, the fundamentals, human
Hmm.
figures, perspective, products, all of it. And I feel if you have given these exams, you're just a little more familiar about the concept of drawing. And if you haven't given them, you'll just have to put in a little more effort and time into improving and refining your skills. Otherwise, everything you need to know before your design exams can be done in 6 months. It's all doable
Hmm.
if you're consistent enough.
That's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Um, I think a major part of design education is unlearning your bad habits. And I think this is where giving these drawing exams can be lethal because um when you are preparing for these exams, elementary, intermediate, what you tend to do is you tend to learn cheap tricks or develop bad habits to make your artwork look good. And that's not
Hmm.
design sketching, that is pretty picture sketching. We don't want that. We have to unlearn that before you get into NID, because in NID or like in any design college, you won't be asked to draw a perfect bucket with all like the beautiful colors and details.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I don't think it's really important if you've given. It's better if you have not given, because you don't have to waste as much time on unlearning as someone who has developed bad habit over years of drawing the same bucket, the same oranges, the same apples. So yeah.
I was one of those people. I had learned that if I want to draw a man standing, this is how I'm gonna draw it. And if I want to draw a
Hmm.
woman sitting, this is how I'm gonna draw it. And it was really tough to get that out of my muscle memory.
Yeah. So it's
Right.
great if you haven't given the exam.
Yes. Okay. I think yeah, that's a little bit about the first part of the exams, right? So we know it as the DAT uh, prelims, right? And in Atharva, your case, I think you had appeared for, since it was the NID exam, they have the DAT mains as well. So that is the studio test, second part, right? Can you share your experience about that?
Yes, definitely. Before I share my experience with the that. I can talk a little bit about the prelims and then how I went
Yeah.
from prelims to the mains exam and how there was a philosophical shift. I will, of course, talk about all the nice tips and tricks, quick tips and tricks to get there. But I think it's very important to have the right kind of mindset, the right philosophy while you're giving these exams and while you're preparing for these exams, which will enable you to be successful, if not in the exam, then definitely in life. Again, not a life guru, so take my advice with a grain of salt. For the prelims exam, I remember I was a bit nervous and I couldn't perform very well because uh, they hadn't given us a watch or you weren't able to tell what the time was. So that was kind of hard, and that led to me not being able to perform as well because of the pressure. And then for the mains exam, I remember I had forgotten to bring a pen while uh, the exam had started, and I realized it midway. But again, even after that, I didn't panic, and I was able to gather myself and focus on the exam. So there was a major philosophical shift, and I think that philosophical shift can be summed up into this share that I like to quote. It's called क्यों क्यों डरे जिंदगी में क्या होगा कुछ न हुआ तजुर्बा होगा. It's by Gulzar, I guess. I don't remember, but yeah, I read that and that really struck with me. I was able to detach the outcome from the exams and just focus on the process and remind myself that getting into NID was not my main goal. Of course, it is one of the sub goals, but the main goal has always been to be a good designer. And I think I would have been a good designer regardless of NID. Of course, it's going to help me a lot in my journey, no doubt about that. But it's you shouldn't lose hope if you don't get in. So if you have that mindset while you're preparing and giving the exam, it's going to be a lot easier because you'll be more free, and creativity thrives when you're happy. And if you're really happy when you're giving the exam, if you're enjoying the questions, if you're enjoying being there in the moment, I think that's all the preparation you need. Yeah, then you can be your authentic self.
Yeah. I think one thing which, a lot of people don't understand is the design schools are actually trying to test you, right? Like to understand who you are as a person. And very rightly said, Atharva, that the mindset is what makes you who you are on that day. So it really matters a lot. And I think the next question probably is a little predictable, which a lot of people are worried about. When we think about design, portfolio is something that comes along with it, and many people have that misconception that portfolio needs to, be really in a certain way, or needs to have a lot of sketches. Can you share your experience of how you built your portfolio? What kind of work did you include in your portfolio?
Can I go first?
Yeah,
Sure.
do that.
So firstly, what is a portfolio? I remember back when I was in 11th grade, everybody was talking about how important a portfolio is, but nobody really told me what a portfolio actually was. So a portfolio is basically a collection of your best works or the works you're proud of, works that define you and your designing process. It can be a PDF, it can be a PPT, it can even be a physical photo album type of copy. It can include pictures as well as text and videos, links, everything. I remember for me, I made sure that any project I was working on, I gave my 100%. And even if it was a self project or a Guru Mantra assignment or something I did in school, college, I was giving my 100% in it. I clicked a million aesthetic pictures of the before, during, and after of that project right there and then itself, because later the projects tend to deteriorate. In my portfolio, I included a lot of diverse works I have done because I am not exceptionally good at one particular thing. So if I could not impress the examiners with the expertise I have in one particular topic, one particular subject, I had to impress them with the diversity, the width of my skills. That's why I included the places I have talked, my anchoring, my valediction, I've included my speechcraft, I've included some of my writings. I had included a social work project I did back in sixth standard. And because it really defined how I became sensitive towards the environment and made sure that most of my designs were environment friendly. And then, after I included these things which separate me from most of the crowd, I included my design project. And I included a stop motion animation, even though I despise animation. I'm not good at it, but I just wanted to let them know that I can do things even if I don't like them. And I included product designs, which I'm pretty good at. And I made sure my entire portfolio reflected my personality because I did not have, a particular work that would totally impress them and they'd be like, हाँ इसे तो लेना ही पड़ेगा. I made sure that everything just बूंद बूंद से ही सागर बनता है at times. So my portfolio was a reflection of my personality. There was purple everywhere. The aesthetic was totally my type. That's it.
Okay. Atharva?
Yes. For me, I had a portfolio even before I started preparing for the design exams, but it wasn't as refined or as good as I think it is now. But yeah, it's important to show your personality as well. But before that, you have to show that you have potential. If you are able to communicate that you have potential to learn, to grow as a designer, of course, that's the most important thing. Then the personality comes. But if you show that you can learn, you can adapt, you have something in you, you have that spark, I think that's enough. The personality part is just the icing on the cake, of course.
Right.
Yes. So for my portfolio, for a lot of people, it's like they have this thinky, they don't really have a lot of projects, and what do I do now? I have to fit all of it in. Like I have 4 projects, but I have to make like 15-20 slides. What do I do? I don't think I struggled with that as much. I had to remove projects in order to compress my portfolio into 15 pages. And I think the reason for that would be having side projects and personal projects that you do outside of your coaching class. So just doing the class assignments is not enough, but also doing things on your own that fulfill you, that inspire you. That's very important. And I think if you put those in your portfolio, you're definitely standing away from the crowd. And yeah, I did a lot of projects while I was working while I was studying in Guru Mantra, even before that. So it's not like if you are joining a class or Guru Mantra, you won't get time for personal projects. You can get time. You just have to find time. Stop wasting as much and doing things that you actually love. It can be projects like making a piece of music or crochet. It doesn't have to be strictly design related, but doing things that build your personality, build your design ability, that is also very important. I think if you consistently do that for 2 years, then in the last few months you won't have a big problem creating a portfolio.
Right, because the examiners want to see how flexible you are, how curious you are you open to new, different things, and are you observant? Do you have the traits that a designer requires? They don't want designer works that a designer does. They want to see if you are fit to be a designer.
Agreed. Totally agree.
Yeah, the thing to understand is that portfolio is just showcasing the kind of potential you have.
Right.
And I think one thing which, a lot of people also need to realize is a portfolio is always ongoing for a designer. So even once you're out of design school, you still have to keep working on it. As a professional, you still have to keep working on it. And I think, yeah, you just need to understand and, like Atharva said, just manage time and add other projects other than, just what everybody else run of the mill is not necessary. Uh, and when we talk about this, like, I think one important point which you guys touched was managing time. So, because these entrance exams come close to the 12th board exams, how did you manage all of this together? Like, you had the exams also, you had boards also, preparing portfolio also. How was that done?
Anjali, you go first.
Firstly, okay. Firstly, I think you need to be aware of what you want. What is your goal? Are you aiming for 90% plus in your board exams? Are you okay with 70, 60%? Can you achieve 60, 70% by giving more than half of your energy devoting it to design entrance exams? Once you're clear on it, I think it becomes much easier to distribute your energy and your time and create like sort of a structured plan for it. What I did was, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes. You're audible, Anjali.
Yeah, the screen just froze. Better?
Yes.
We can hear you, yeah.
Right. So what I did was I knew I wanted 90% plus in my board exams. So I focused on one thing at a time. If I have a college lecture right now, I'm going to focus on that. If I have a Guru Mantra session right now, I'm going to focus on that and just take it one day at a time. Have a structured plan in your head about how you're going to tackle these things. If you have term exams in a week, focus on that. If you have an entrance exam in a week, focus on that. And having a community, having friends who can help you cheer up when you're feeling down, having your family inside your circle so that they know what's going on and they can help you when you feel down, when you feel overwhelmed. I think that is also
Great. Before I state my opinion, again, a disclaimer, I have a very strong opinion on this. It's not, I don't agree with Anjali, but that again, that's okay. I think if you're really serious about design, if you want to completely do it, then getting good grades in your 12th board exams, they shouldn't matter as much. But again, it's a personal preference and I respect that. But for me, I started preparing the day after I gave NID prelims, which was like a month or like what, half a month, I guess, of preparation.
Almost. Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, I hadn't, seriously prepared for 12th. Of course, I passively prepared by reading the book a few times. But again, it was an active preparation. I was fully dedicated onto design, not just NID, but learning design. Uh, the first thing I did after I came to Pune was find a nerdy friend and ask him to give me all the notes. So you can do that as well.
the nerdy.
I did it. Yeah. You can do it, and it worked for me. So, that's it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, like I think Atharva said earlier, probably, his methods are something which might not suit everybody, especially maybe if there are parents, they might be a little shocked to hear all this. But yeah, I think everybody finds their own way around what you want to focus on or what your passion is. It draws you somehow, right? But one point which Anjali touched on, how was your family support during this whole journey?
Yeah.
Go first.
I'll go first. Fortunately for me, I had a very supportive family. And fortunately for me, I'm also a very disagreeable kind of a personality. Uh, Meaning I don't really bend to their view of the world as much. And yeah, my father, both of my parents are doctors, and they expected me to be doctor, but uh, they've seen other, like their colleagues, friends kids becoming doctors, them forcing them to become doctors, and it didn't work out really well for them, and they kind of saw it and they were like, okay, you can do whatever you want, just do something that will make you money, do something practical. And I think when I introduced them to design, they really were like, okay, there is something here, there is opportunity here. Because I remember, again, in the lockdown, I was preparing a lot for design, and I think they saw it in me ki, I was very serious about this, and it's just not another phase. So they were really supportive. My mom, again, very supportive. My dad, he didn't really care what I did, so that was great for me. Worked out really well.
As for me, even I did not know that I was going to pursue design 2 years ago. But when I told my family about it, that I've started liking this thing and I think I can do something in this, I can build a career out of it. They were very supportive about it. I had to convince them a little because my father is an engineer, my mom is an architect. Both of them had taken science. Both of them think that maths is very important. And I should have taken maths in my 11th, 12th, but I did not like maths. So just like that, I just uh, I kept them in my circle. I was open to them about how I really wanted to do this. And I think the conversations about which college you want to go to, which city you are open to going to, these are conversations that should be done before you start filling the forms for the entrance exams so that it reduces friction later. And
yeah, definitely.
I think students should convince their parents, and parents should be open towards all colleges and towards all cities, because design is a very subjective field and you never know which college might provide you exactly what you need.
Yeah, and ideally, while you're choosing your college, ideally it shouldn't be in the same city as your parents, because I think it's very important to move out and explore a little in the age we are right now, because trust me, it develops your personality a lot. You learn about money, you learn how the world works, and you understand the true value of the money. Of course, you knew what it was, you were taught about it in school, but it's very different how it works in real life versus in school. So again, I've changed a lot. I've become more confident in myself because I was able to move out and find a way. So I think, yeah, moving out has been the greatest experience of my life. Yeah.
Okay. So we spoke a lot so far about, how you chose design schools, or what were you looking for when you were choosing design schools. But can you identify and, probably highlight some key strengths or skills that the design college might have selected you for?
Will you go first?
As for me, BITS had 3 rounds of selection. First one was the entrance exam they took, and they accepted scores of UC'd as well as NID. Second, they had a portfolio round where they scrutinized the portfolios of the applicants and then they selected some of them to appear for the interview. And they had maximum weightage on the interview. Like I think they were given 30% weightage to entrance exams and portfolio each, and they were given 40% importance to the interview round. That's why I think my communication skills, the diversity of my portfolio, and the deliberation or the thought that I have put behind everything that I've done in my portfolio, or I do usually when I'm creating design, that was what helped set me apart and got me into bits.
Great.
Okay.
For me, I think the few things that separated me from the crowd and helped me get into NID were my ability to think, my ability to have opinions, and my industriousness. I'll elaborate on them one by one. I'll start from my ability to think. Before starting my preparation, I wasn't very smart, as in like I didn't really think a lot. I used to believe what everyone told me. But when I started preparing, there was a change in me because of all the political content, because of all the different opinions that I started to get. Then I realized that it's bad if you start believing what you hear. It's great if you hear things from all the points, you don't judge them, and then you analyze them, and then respectfully form an opinion about that topic of your own. Again, it doesn't have to be attached to your identity. Your opinions are not your identity. Your opinions can change. Your identity ideally shouldn't. But again, I wasn't afraid to be proven wrong in the later stages of my preparation, which is why I was open to multiple views. Because earlier on, I was not like this. I was rigid. I had a perspective, and I was not open to change. But I think that ability to think helped me a lot to have opinions, which leads me to the second point, that I had opinions and I was not afraid to share them. Because I remember in the prelims, there was this question about uh, human trafficking and the begging industry in big cities like Mumbai. And there was a question regarding that key, what would you do in that case if you saw a kid begging on the streets? An ideal answer to that question would be to tell the police and then use social media and then pressurize them to take action. But that's not reflecting my complete opinion and my complete personality. What I wrote as an answer, and I think this answer really helped me get in, was, I quote, I wrote, life is not a Bollywood movie. So taking these mafias or gang leaders head on isn't a very great decision. You should uh, go and complain or file an FIR with the police, and then use the power of social media and NGO organizations like Kailas Satyarthi organization, like the Child Line organization, which have a big social following, to pressure the authorities into taking actions, because otherwise we all know they're not going to take action. I think that answer really separated me, because it shows that I have opinions and I'm not afraid to express them, and I have I've thought about this. So the first 2 points, and then the third point is my industriousness. My industriousness was my ability to work and learn things, even the hard ones, like perspective, like drawing, like design sketching. And I think I'm good at the representation part. So yeah, being able to draw well, and draw well as in not do the grid portraits of Amitabh Bachchan or Aishwarya Rai, but being able to sketch like a designer and not like an artist. I think me conveying that through the paper, through both the prelims and mains, was something that separated me from the crowd and got me into NID. So being industrious, the ability to think, and the ability to express your opinions.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very well put. I think one question that Anjali mentioned, that you got selected in BITS, right? You have opted for BITS. Can you share a little about how you chose this college? Or
Yeah, all of my answers lie in self-reflection. I know that I am a person who is very sensitive to her environment. Hold on, I think the electricity went down.
it's okay, we can see you.
Let me just connect myself to hotspot.
Yeah. So while we have Anjali just reconnecting through a different connection, I would like to inform everybody that if any of you are interested, we have Atharva and Anjali's portfolios. We have a copy kept at our studio here, and if anybody would be interested, you can always walk in and have a look at them. They've been generous enough to share their portfolios with us. So it's very rare in this community to have work shared like this until you're actually looking for work. But yes, okay. I'm not sure if Anjali has joined
Designers
back.
don't. Uh,
What?
I said good designers don't gatekeep. So I hope everyone also
Yes.
shares
And design
anything.
is a collaborative process, so it's always good to share what you're doing.
Definitely, definitely. As a group, you can learn a lot more things than as an individual,
Yeah.
because your
I
friends
really
can
like
teach
that
you.
word that you use, community, because uh, unless you have that community of like-minded individuals, you also don't grow, right?
Agreed. Yeah, I also have grown a lot, um, both philosophically, intellectually, but mostly philosophically. I was very cocky when I started Guru Mantra. Um, I had this mindset that I'm working for like 6 to 8 hours every day, and I'm better than all of these people. But after self-reflecting and learning about other people, I realized that I shouldn't be cocky about these things. It's my nature to work. Other people are good at other things, like Anjali is good at communicating. Some of my friends are good at philosophy and
Yeah.
a lot of the other things. So I was just good at one thing, and I thought I was better than other people because of that. So yeah, I don't have that mindset anymore. So that's great.
Yeah, I think this is again very closely related to what you said earlier that if you work in silos, if you're working alone, you don't realize the magnitude of how many people are actually preparing for the exam with you, right? I think there are thousands, and we don't realize that when we keep working alone. Okay, I think Anjali has just joined back. Anjali, are you able to hear us?
Is it okay if I keep my video off?
You're having internet connection? Yeah, sure. You can probably till your lights come back. You can keep it off.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So, I was saying I'm a person who is very sensitive to her environment. I become what I'm surrounded with. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
good. We can hear you.
Yeah, right. So that's why I wanted to go into a design school which aligned with my philosophy. Now, this is a very personal view of mine, but I believe every institute has a cardinal trait. A cardinal trait is something, a principle which they uphold, which they look for and build in all the students that they are selecting. Like, for example, NID has a cardinal trait of creativity and innovation, as per me. IITs are more concerned with intellectual aptitude. Uh, Colleges like SEPT, I think, are more ecocentric, while Srishti is more about entrepreneurship.
Right. Okay.
I
Yeah.
can't see the
So
screen. I just hope I'm audible.
yes, you are audible. Not a problem. No,
Right.
while you were disconnected, me and Atharva got a little sidetracked. So I just want to remind everybody that Anjali was talking about uh, why she chose BITS, as the college that she's going to start now. So we spoke a lot about the entrance exams, the pattern. We spoke about the portfolio. But if you actually come back to your Guru Mantra experience a little, we conducted mock tests, which are tests which are similar to exam patterns here. I would like to know from you guys how much did they actually help you in the entrance exam?
Right. Should I go first?
Yeah.
Yes. So giving the mocks was like the best experience and like the most important thing I did in my preparation, because before you start actually going into that exam environment, going into that exam headspace, and working on like a single paper for a fixed period of time, along with people who have the same goal to get marks, which is like in a sense what the mock is. It's very important to be in that environment before you can, jump into directly go into any design college entrance, because that way you it's like it's not very unfamiliar to you anymore. You kind of have an idea of how it's going to be. And yeah, that was the basic. But again, in the mocks, I remember, I think I did a very good job, and that was I uh, didn't do the same thing in every mock. So we had 5, 6 mocks, and I forced myself to use different techniques in every mock. That could be of ideation techniques, that could be techniques of execution, those could be, anything basically, and different materials. Because I remember in the last mock, uh, I was like, okay, so far I've done a good job at all the 5, 6 mocks that I've given, but now I want to do which is something which is completely different. So I decided to complete the whole mock with just one pencil, and I did that. And I'm so fortunate and grateful that I did that, because in the NID mains and prelims, both actually, and this is true story, I have only used one 2B pencil and an eraser and a ballpoint pen to write down my name, and that's it. I didn't use any coloring medium. I didn't use any micron pens or anything like that. It was just pencil and eraser. And yeah, even after using that, I think I got in a big misconception with the design exams is that you should be good at line work, you should be good at coloring and sketching. But I think I've written this quote, and Anjali really helped me uh, get it in like good words. I'll just read it out. Yeah, so ideation and sketching is the cake, line work and coloring the icing. A cake without an icing still sells. So if you understand that quote and think a little bit about it, it talks about the same thing I explained right now. It's very important to have a good foundation of great ideas with your ability to represent those ideas. That is the basic foundation, and all the other things like the line work, like the coloring, they come after. They shouldn't ever come before your actual ideation. Let's say you're in a situation where you have 15 minutes, the last 15 minutes, and you have to complete one question. You should completely focus on sorry you should completely focus on generating good ideas and then representing them. They don't have to be pretty pictures, but again, don't really focus a lot on the line work or the coloring. Just convey the idea, and I think you're good enough. You'll get there. So yeah, mock tests were great for that. Experiment a lot, find what works for you, and use that approach in the exam.
Okay. I think Anjali got disconnected once again, so I think we'll just proceed to the next question. So this is, I think we've covered most of the formal questions, but this is a little informal. Can you share one memory that you've had, or a memorable experience that you've had at Guru Mantra?
Yeah, I think I talked about it a little bit while Anjali was disconnected. I think she's back. Yes.
Yes, she just joined back.
Yeah. So about my experience, there are a lot, but this is one experience that I think if you guys listen to it, it might add a lot of value to your design or learning experience overall. Yeah, she's back. Right.
I'm so sorry, I'm back. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. So I remember in my preparation, while I was in the beginning stages, before I had joined Guru Mantra, I used to work a lot on my sketching skills, on my character design skills, and all of that. But when I came to Guru Mantra, uh, or like shifted to Pune in general, there were a lot of people who weren't as passionate as me in design or like in anything in life. And I had developed this cocky mindset that I'm above them in ways. And that was when my learning plateaued, and I had stopped. The growth curve wasn't as
Yeah.
steep as I wanted it to be. But then I came across this book called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. He's uh, he's a Roman emperor. He was the ruler of the known world. He's one of my most inspiring figures. And when I read his book, it completely changed my mind philosophically, and
Mhm.
it it changed it in a way that I started respecting other people as well while I was working on myself, because I shouldn't have a cocky attitude just because I'm trying to be better. Trying to be better is our nature, and I'm fulfilling my nature. People who are not fulfilling their nature, again, it's their problem. I'm not above them just for doing what I'm doing. Our hands or like our feet don't want a reward for walking. Our eyes don't want a reward for seeing. And in the same way, we shouldn't want a reward, or we shouldn't feel better than other people just because we are following our nature, which is to be better every day, try to improve our already pathetic lives. uh, yeah, I think that philosophical shift really led me to respect other people's opinions while working on myself. Yeah.
Okay. Anjali, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know the question.
We were talking about your one memorable experience that you had at Guru Mantra.
Oh, right. I remember when I volunteered for the Safarnama exhibition. It was a thing which changed my perspective a lot, because I was expecting to be put into the team which made props and helped put them up, and was more towards the side of execution. But to my surprise, I was put into the anchoring team, and that was when I realized oh, communication is
Mhm.
something I'm good at. And it's
Mm.
not just one of my skill sets, it can be something I can build upon, and you know, it can be my forte, it can be my niche.
Mm.
That was something which made me
Okay,
realize.
great, great, wonderful. Okay, so you guys have put forth your opinions. Now we can open the floor for questions. If anybody has any questions, we have tried to cover as many questions as we could, which are generally frequently asked and related to the exam. I'm sure there will be many more. So if any of you have any questions, you can send them in the chat box and we will read it out, and Atharva and Anjali can answer them.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Tanvi is asking, how can we self-study for the design exams?
Right. Do you want to answer this question, Anjali, or should I go
You can.
forward?
Yeah,
Should I go?
yeah, I'll add in later.
Yes. Um, so you can definitely prepare on your own for design exams. But again, like I told, you won't be preparing for design, you'll just be preparing for an exam. Have a community. But now I'll talk about, like, I'll actually answer the question of how you can learn, uh, how you can crack the design exam on your own. The first thing you should do is what like students tend to have a problem with is that they're very scared of this big demon called NID who's chasing them, and it's just going to be there in 6 months in their face and they won't have the right tools or the sword to fight that demon. But I think it's important to take a bigger picture into consideration, understand what the exam is, divide it up into smaller digestible chunks. For example, you can, the most basic division of the design exam could be part A and part B, right? We all know that. About part A, I think Anjali can explain better, but I'll try to explain how much I can. You can divide that into smaller pieces like art and culture, history, then let's say geography or architecture, or all of those different topics. And part B, you can divide into drawing, perspective, anatomy, figure drawing. It doesn't have to be anatomy, I guess, but again, figure drawing, basic design sketching, line work, coloring, and all of that. And then you can dedicate uh, a few weeks or a few days onto one topic and then study it religiously. Ideally, I followed this and I think it works great, is that you do the 80-20 or 70-30 rule. You first sit down with yourself and identify what you're actually good at. For me, I think I was a lot better at part B. So I would spend 30% of my time studying and investing that into part B, and the rest 70% I would invest into part A, which is the analytical history, geography, GK wala part. Yeah, that was my approach. I remember I had boiled down part A into art and culture, different books about design also I read within that time. For Anjali, I think it's a different approach, but again, dividing
Yeah,
it
the
into
title.
different.
I'm audible.
Hello? Hello?
Anjali, I think your voice is breaking a little bit. Maybe it's your connection.
This is the only connection I have right now.
No, this
Okay,
is
now it's clear, yeah.
Okay, so I'll just quickly tell my approach. I won't go into the details. It was that for part A, I had divided things state-wise because the questions are usually related to India. So for a week, I was studying just one state. It's handicrafts, handlooms, architecture, local attire, whatever it is, all the general knowledge part. And for part B, I had divided things into 4 P's: perspective, people, products, and places. And I used to uh, practice them individually, and then at the end of a week, I'd do them together and see how much I have improved. That was my approach.
that's a great
Also,
approach.
I think it is important to find your own learning style. Like Atharva likes listening to videos and audios, while I understand better when I read things. So I used to read blogs, and there's a lot of study material available online as well, which can help you.
Great. I remember for part A, I watched a lot of UPSC videos, which can be counterintuitive, but it's very helpful. Channels like Study IQ, Drishti IAS, teachers like you can write this down. Teachers like Vikas Divyakirti. These are specifically UPSC teachers, but again, if you watch their lectures, it is very helpful for all the current affairs, history, art and design, like not art and design, art and history, art and culture. It's very helpful for that. There is a separate section in the UPSC exams specifically tailored for art and culture. So if you watch YouTube videos related to that, it can be very helpful. It helped me a lot, and yeah, a lot of political stuff also I watched. There's this misconception that for current affairs you have to read the newspaper. I absolutely hated reading the newspaper. um, Again, your approach can be different, but for me, instead of reading the news, I used to watch the news. And by watching the news, I don't mean our conventional news media channels that are on our TVs, because those, they don't really have a news. They have a certain agenda that they follow, so that's not really news. it's better to follow YouTubers, which are more or less neutral on the political stance. So I used to watch right-wing YouTube videos, then left-wing YouTube videos about different current affairs or political situations, and then I would sit down and think what I think is right, and then have my own opinion. Again, not listening to other people, not falling for propaganda, just consuming all the media, all the information, and then thinking. That was the biggest thing that separated me, I guess, from the others for the party preparation.
Okay. We have one question. Are 12th board marks considered in any of the design entrance exams? So generally they have a minimum cutoff. I'll just give a quick answer to this one. They generally have a minimum cutoff which is mentioned in the brochure. It depends from college to college. So you might have to go through the brochures of those respective colleges which you are applying for. The next question is, does career counseling help in identifying the inclination towards design?
I think Anjali should answer that question.
Yeah,
You might have gone through the process. Yeah.
right. I had taken a lot of career counseling, but I don't think it really helps because I don't think you can understand what design is actually about until you experience it firsthand. After you join a coaching class or after you've done some assignments, you've studied the concepts of design, only after that you can tell if you are going to be good at it or you're not going to be good at it. And as for the inclination, if you are open to change, if you are observant, if you are curious, if you want to create an impact out in the world, I think design might be for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I think the next few questions we've already covered. We've already spoken about what you can include in the portfolio. They've already spoken about how how to crack certain parts of the exam. There is a question about cracking the interview. So, would you guys like to share that experience? If you had an interview at any of the design schools?
I think Anjali should again answer this question because
Yeah.
I didn't have an interview for NID. I did have one for the MIT, but I think Anjali has more experience and knowledge on that topic than me.
Okay, so for the interview, I think the most important thing is be confident and be fluent in at least one language. It's okay if it's Marathi, it's okay if it's Hindi. You just need to be able to communicate your ideas in a way that is a little impressive because your communication matters a lot. And secondly, whatever you have done in a 2 year journey, in your 1 year journey about design, you need to have a thought on it, an opinion on it, and you need to be honest about it. Because I think the examiners are well read enough to understand when we are faking things and when we're not faking things. So being genuine is very important and just having a thought about everything you've done. Like, for example, in my portfolio, I had a reason why I had chosen a certain sequence of projects. I had a reason why I had chosen a certain font. And if they asked questions on that, and they did, I was able to answer them.
Great.
Yeah.
For me, when I gave the MIT Loni interview, I had a very clear mindset that this might again sound cocky, but I think I can explain it in a way that is not. Before that, again, I'll tell a share that expresses this idea of mine into more poetic words. It goes like this: तू नहीं कोई और सही, कोई और नहीं कोई और सही, बड़ी लंबी है जमी, मिलेंगे लाख हंसी, इस जमाने में सनम तू अकेले तो नहीं, तू नहीं कोई और सही, कोई और नहीं कोई और सही. So what this basically means, of course, you can apply this to your romantic relationships, and that would be of help. But even if you have this mindset to colleges that I don't need a particular college. Of course, I want a college. It would be good to have one, but I'll be just as good if I don't get in. And I think if you have that attitude while you're being respectful, while you're giving the interview, I think the mentors or the teachers can sense that confidence. Ki, okay, this guy thinks or this girl thinks, and they're not just here desperately waiting to get in and have that tag on them. They actually want to learn. So I think if you have that attitude, then you can crack any interview, even if you're not very good with words. Yeah.
So, Atharva, when you were explaining about, the portfolio you did, even Anjali was saying she included one of her sixth grade Wala project. So, like, apart from the assignment, what extra projects? People want to know, like, what extra they should do for portfolio. So, is there any specific tip or something that you would like to share?
Can I?
Yes,
Yeah,
Anjali.
go ahead.
I shared the hobbies that I was very proud of. Like, I'm particularly proud of my writing, and I think it forms a major part of my personality. It affects how I talk, it affects what I think about. So, I included those writings. I included the anchoring I've done so far, the public speaking I've done so far, because that too forms a major part of who I am as a person. So I think anything you're good at, anything you love doing, anything you're passionate about, anything you can talk about for hours. Like I am in a phase where I'm obsessed with Taylor Swift, and I had included that in my portfolio just to let them know that I'm studying her marketing techniques, I'm studying her communication techniques, I'm learning how she's branding her albums. This is something which occupies a lot of my brain space. So anything that occupies your brain space and you can talk about for hours, I think you should include in your portfolio.
Definitely, definitely. I agree with this 100%. I'll share an experience of mine to make you guys understand it a bit better. Uh, while I was studying ancient Indian architecture, I was also studying Southern architecture. So all the temples and all the mahals and all of that. And while I was doing that, I got curious that can I make a project out of this? Can I, just not study this for the sake of it, and I can actually implement it into a bigger, wider project. And I remember that time I saw the movie Adipurush, and in that movie they haven't really done a good job at designing Ravan's Lanka, and that made me think has there been any good depiction of Ravan's Lanka in pop culture? And I realized that due to lack of technology, maybe, or the lack of designers at that time, they weren't able to have a good fantasy representation of Lanka. So I thought of converting my learnings from these part A learnings into a personal project, and I think I'm still working on it. It's not 100% complete. Uh, I again, all the knowledge, all the notes that I had taken while I was studying for part A were really helpful in my personal project. And I think that's how most of your personal projects should start. Something that inspires you, then leads you to something else, which leads you to something else, and then a project is, I think, the way to go. Than just sitting down and forcing yourself to find a personal project just because some dude on the internet told you to. So yeah, having that approach really helped me. I think that's in my portfolio as well, so you guys can check that out.
Yeah, we have portfolio of Atharva and Anjali kept at Florina Studio. That is Erendwane. So you can come and have a look on that. And rather than sharing a soft copy, it is always better to get the feel of looking at the minute details and discussing that with your peers at the same time. So we have the copies with us, and students who want to see it can connect to Pratibha ma'am, and she'll guide you when you can come and visit to have a look on it.
Yeah, again, if you for some reason people can't come to Guru Mantra, they can definitely message us also. We can also help them out with all the queries and questions that they might have, or if they want to view it digitally. Yeah, you guys can contact us on our Instagrams. We'll be more than happy to help you guys out.
Okay. There is a question, how did Anjali include her Taylor Swift in her portfolio?
Okay, so I have this slide in my portfolio which talks about my fondness for researching and reading about subjects, and in that, because Taylor Swift is very remotely connected to design, I had just included a sentence in it that I'm curious about the marketing techniques of Taylor Swift. And coincidentally, the examiner asked me about it, and I was able to tell about it. So yeah, it is important, I think, to include subjects which are more relevant to design. Like there's this designer called Neri Oxman, and her work really fascinates me. So on that researching slide, the main thing was about Neri Oxman, and just in the corner there was a line about Taylor Swift. But I have friends in BITS itself whose portfolio cover was an artwork she did of Taylor Swift. It was a fan art, and Taylor Swift was performing on the stage. I think it was from the Red Tour, and she had just drawn that, and that was her portfolio cover. And she got selected into BITS. So I think self-expression is the key.
Great. So there is some question related to the branch. So Guru Mantra has started Baner Center this year. Atharva and Anjali are from our Kothrudu branch. Though these are different locations, we have the same team operating for all the locations. So the mentors which are there at Kothrudu will be the same mentors for Baner. So these are not any franchisees. These are just different studio locations that we offer for convenience of student. Otherwise, in terms of the team and the curriculum, everything is same. So Abha is asking if, as a senior, they can copy you. You can be the so-called role models for them.
Anjali, you want to answer this?
Well, you can definitely take its inspiration from us, but I think the most important thing in design is self-discovery. You need to find your own way through it. We cannot give you a to-do list. And like kites rise against the wind. So like if there is something that we said that you find off, you can totally go against it. And that's how you'll find your own way through it, have your own opinions, have your own principles.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Don't put people on pedestal. Anyone for that matter. We are all just people. Try and understand our opinions. If they work for you, great. If they don't, again, it's what worked for us. In no way we are saying that this is a foolproof plan to get into NID orbits. Yeah, this is just our experiences, and we are here to talk about it.
And actually, we are just as lost as anybody else because I don't think anybody has their entire life figured out. We're just someone who has, we have passed the phase of design entrance exams. And these are just our hindsights. So we haven't done anything much in life as such.
Yeah, 100%.
But this is
I just wanted to add.
Yeah.
Sorry. So
The
if
start
I
of
can't
the journey,
resist.
guys, and I know these junior guys would be, looking towards some tips and tricks, and they look at you as a buddy sort of a person, and will surely, you might have been through the same phase, and we have always given references of many students who guided you at various points. So surely, we would like to take a consent from you guys if it is okay if we share your contact details or Instagram handles to them. and they can interact with you for any doubts or any guidance
I
further.
think. Yeah, we are always here
Definitely.
as friends. Yeah, don't consider us role models.
We're more than happy to help. Even give feedback on people's works, share portfolio, answer queries anytime. We're all open to communication. Yeah. Just the one thing is that you should follow what we tell us, or like actually consider it and not just okay ऐकलं आणि सोडून दिलं. At least think about it, and I think you'll do good in life.
Yes. So I think we have done with all the questions. Anushree ma'am, would you like to add something?
There's this one thing I'd like to say. I think I missed out on it. It's about the preparation for Part A, particularly for UC. There was this YouTube channel called Mind Your Decisions, which helped me a lot prepare for the math. And I am really poor at math. But again, they're not looking for math geniuses. They are just looking for how you can solve simple problems mathematically. And that channel, I think, covers a lot of concepts that UC uses. So yeah, just for your reference.
Great.
Yeah.
I'd also like to add in a little bit and talk about the Part B preparation. Yeah, so there's no easy way to put it. Being creative isn't good enough. You have to be able to communicate your ideas. So if I were asked, let's say, one tip or like one key factor that we should learn about before giving the exams is that we should learn how to draw, and draw as in not like an artist but as a designer. Of course you can learn how to draw as an artist and have that as a passion, but that's not what NID or the other design schools are looking for. I think the most important skill is being able to express your ideas well. I'd like to explain this with an example. I remember in the first exam, prelims for NID, because there was a lot of tension in the environment. There were different people, more confident people. I wasn't able to be as creative as I wanted to be. Of course, at least for me, and I think this is a case with a lot of you guys also, that your creativity depends a lot on your mood and how you feel that day. I think your ability to draw and execute doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't. It's not influenced by external factors as much as your creativity is. So being able to draw like a designer, it's the most important skill that one can possess. Of course, creativity, being able to generate great ideas, good ideas, it's absolutely fantastic. But you can't rely on your creativity all the time. But you can rely on your ability. You can rely on your hand to create an aesthetic looking design. So yeah, one tip: learn how to draw as a designer, not an artist.
So far it was really informative discussion. I mean, you guys have shared a lot of resources as well as tips. So whether Anushree ma'am, would you like to add something, or it's good to stop here?
No, I think we've covered everything, and they were both answered every query, to the very best.
Yes. So thank you, Atharva and Anjali, for joining and sharing your experiences. And we will share your contact details with the students. Your Instagram chat box may get full, but please help them, and let's build this Guru Mantra ecosystem together.
Yes, ma'am, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think there was somebody who had asked about the recording of the webinar.
Yes.
It will be available on our Facebook page,
It
I
will be
think.
available on YouTube channel tomorrow. So we will share the
Yes.
link of the recording as well.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.